Slendy, Ego, Slendy, Ego, Slendy, Ego, Slendy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome, episode 553 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is January 10th, 2024. Hopefully, everybody is having a great day. For the podcast listeners, you just missed my new intro that I made, which includes a couple of great plays in Padres history, a couple great moments. So hopefully you go over to YouTube and you watch that. I just completed that. That's what I was waiting to complete before getting here and doing this show today, because Dennis Lin released a mailbag, part one of his mailbag, and the big topic was Ha-Seong Kim and the future of Ha-Seong Kim. So I have some thoughts on that. If you want to join the show, you can click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. If you want to make sure I get to your comment or your question, you can use that super chat button. I appreciate that. I will get to the chat as well with any comments, any questions. But yeah, Dennis Lin of The Athletic, part one of his mailbag, and there were questions about Ha-Seong Kim, reasonable contract extension. How much would that cost? Do the Padres pretty much need to move Ha-Seong Kim? And that's the big question that I want to address here. Is it possible the Padres are over the first competitive balance tax threshold to start the year, and then maybe they trade away pieces to get under it? Are trades going to happen? Maybe a team like the Miami Marlins seems like a good match. Cheap outfield option, Jurickson Profar, Travis Jankowski. Is that what we're looking at? So there were different questions in here, but the main big question, which I think a lot of Padres fans have on their minds right now, and this came from Lucas F., as unpopular as it would be with Padres fans, is trading Ha-Seong Kim the best shot we have to fill all the holes that remain on the roster? And Dennis said, it seems that way. Among the team's trade candidates, Kim is the one who has drawn the most interest this offseason, and it's been widespread interest. He's 9 months away from free agency, and the Padres appear unlikely to pony up the money it would take to extend him. Prospect Jackson Merrill, when he's ready, could cheaply replace Kim somewhere in the infield, and after trading pending free agents Juan Soto and Scott Barlow for several controllable assets, the Padres logically are obligated to explore a similar move with Kim, whose combination of Gold Glove defense and affordable 2024 salary has drawn a larger field of teams than the few that seriously bid for Soto. Internally, at least, San Diego has been discussing the idea for weeks. I'm going to start with this paragraph, and then there was some more that he said about this. So yeah, my thoughts on this. Do the Padres need to trade Kim to fill all the holes? They don't need to, but I feel like it seems like it's the best way to do it, like to get the best players into this roster, to get the most complete roster. It's like Juan Soto. A lot of fans had the viewpoint of, well, he's not going to come back. It's 1 year. Let's maximize the value we can get back for Juan Soto and just deal with it. Isn't that what this is with Ha-Seong Kim? I get that Soto was making over $30 million and Kim's making, I think, 8. The AAV is 7 on this 4-year, $28 million contract they had with the Padres, and he's entering his last year. I get that it's less expensive, but he's not coming back. Like, the Padres, they're not going to give him a long-term contract. They're not going to give him $180 million to top Dansby Swanson's contract. Because if Kim plays good like this again, the market's just going to keep going up. It keeps going up for every player, it seems like. Look what Jung-Hoo Lee just got, and he hasn't played in the big leagues. Kim would have put together back-to-back really valuable seasons for the Padres. And then there's going to be teams out there that are going to need guys that can play second, third, short, hit at the top of the order, can hit anywhere, has speed, team player. He'll be a popular player, I would think, on the market. So this, to me, this is like the same thing. There are guys, now with Soto, there wasn't anyone that could immediately slot in and play left field. With Kim, at least you can slide Jake Cronenworth, who you have long-term. You can slide him back over to second base where he provides you the most value. You have Jackson Merrill, who's coming up, and he is most comfortable in the infield, not the outfield. Or at least that's what he's been brought up to be, a shortstop, second base. You can have Merrill play short. You can have Cronenworth play second. You could have Bogarts play first. You could have Bogarts play second. You could keep Bogarts at short. Manny's at third. And you can have Merrill or Cronenworth play second and the other go to the outfield. And you be a Chris Taylor utility type player and be valuable that way. And then you can bring in an actual first baseman or bring one in for now and then wait for someone like Nathan Martorella to come up and be your first baseman. So, do I want Ha-Seong Kim to not be on the team? No, of course. Like with Juan Soto, you want Juan Soto on your baseball team. You want Ha-Seong Kim on your baseball team. But he has 1 year left. Like, this is just the facts here. And Merrill is going to come up at some point, and Jake Cronenworth, he's not super valuable at first base. He's way more valuable at second base than he is at first base. And that's where he is best, at second base. Trust me, those know I'm a big Jake Cronenworth fan, but if Jake Cronenworth was in Ha-Seong Kim's situation and he was playing better, he only had 1 year left and Kim was the guy extended, long term, I would be saying, yeah, the Padres probably should be trading Jake Cronenworth, 1 year left on the deal, so that they could get something back and go put it into different positions that they don't have filled right now. So yeah, I'm on that boat. I am on that boat of trading Ha-Seong Kim. I think that's the best thing to build the most complete team. I was on board with trading Juan Soto because I understood what that would mean for the Padres. And guess what? Yes, there are holes that were created, but they got more flexibility and they were able to fill some of the other spots, right? And they have flexibility here to go spend on other parts of the roster. We'll see what they end up doing. But yeah, I was for it. He wasn't going to come back. And he's a great hitter, but you can win the World Series without Juan Soto. And you can win the World Series without Ha-Seong Kim. Look at the Texas Rangers. They had Evan Carter come up as a rookie and be big. Jackson Merrill could be that guy for the Padres. Who knows what position it's going to be? Maybe it's different positions, multiple. But he could be that guy. And Jake Cronenworth, he's not going to be as bad as he was this past year. I am fully confident in saying that he's not going to be as bad as he was this past season. And you still have Manny, you still have Bogarts. When he's healthy, he performed well with the Padres this past season. You have Tatis, full off season. I think he's the NL MVP in 2024. I've said that. That's my prediction for Tatis, the NL MVP, as of now. So yeah, Ha-Seong Kim and Juan Soto, they were like the two most valuable Padres this past year. And yeah, is that a good look to be trading those guys? No, that's not a good look. But this is the situation that the Padres have put themselves in, where you lock down Cronenworth, you made your bed, you have to lay in it. Other teams are super interested in Ha-Seong Kim. If you read Dennis Lin here, widespread interest around Major League Baseball for Ha-Seong Kim. That's not what it is with Jake Cronenworth. This is the highest value that Ha-Seong Kim is at. Even if he performs well in 2024, he's not going to be as high of a value as he is now for the Padres because that's less time that team will have Ha-Seong Kim under contract. If they trade him at the deadline, if they're out of it, they're not getting as much back at the deadline as they would be getting now. And there are holes on this roster that need to be filled. And I find it hard to believe that the Padres are going to be able to fill all these holes on the roster without making a trade. Because they're going to get it. They're just going to go get all these guys in free agency. They're going to get a center fielder. Harrison Bader and Kevin Kiermaier just went for $10+ million. They're going to do that. And how much is the left fielder going to cost? And they need another starting pitcher. Starting pitchers are going for $15 million a year, regardless of if you had a good year or not this past year. First base DH, they're just going to roll with Jake at first base. Again, they're not going to fill out a bench. More depth in the rotation is what more arms as well, you would think. A couple. So with the room, let's say they have $20-25 million a room, which is what has kind of been floated out there. If you go look on Fangraphs or what's been thrown out there by some writers, how are they going to do this where it's not Travis Jankowski as your starting center fielder on opening day and Jurickson Profar as your starting left fielder, right? I'm not like they can do it in free agency if you want your outfield to be Profar, Jankowski, and Tatis. But I think we can all agree that the Padres should have a better outfield than that, right? They should probably bring in an actual first baseman. They should bring in another starter. And instead of having it be 3 starters, 2 coming off injury, and the 4-5 be Luis Patino or Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez, or be Pedro Avila and Randy Vasquez or whoever. I think we want all those guys to be fighting for the 5 spot, or just be depth guys and some of those guys be in the bullpen. Like, in a trade for Ha-Seong Kim, let's say the Padres trade Ha-Seong Kim, what would you get back? You could get back controllable starting pitching. I'm sure you could get back maybe it's not controllable starting pitching, maybe it's a controllable outfielder, or it's a first base. Like, I'm looking at teams like the Marlins. Now, if it's 1 year, right? And it's 1 year, so are the Marlins going to go give Ha-Seong Kim that much money? I don't see that happening. So maybe you take the Marlins out of it, because the Marlins, are they a World Series team in 24? The D-backs, we didn't think that about 2023, and they did. So they could surprise people, but they're in a really tough division with teams that, if they don't win the division, they're going to be definitely in the wild card, right? So let's say a team like the Giants, maybe they're not trying to go all in, but I'd probably still put them ahead of the Marlins, assuming that they'll make more moves this offseason. And we know that they would be willing to extend Ha-Seong Kim because they need someone up the middle there. They have Marco Luciano, I think, but if you read some people with the Giants, some people that cover the Giants, they don't know if he's like ready to be the shortstop every day. And if he is, they can put Ha-Seong Kim at second base, right? He could play third. Like, he's super valuable on the field. Bob Melvin knows Ha-Seong Kim, obviously. They have plenty of room to spend. Jung-Hoo Lee and Ha-Seong Kim are great friends. Like, I could see that. Now, what you'd say is, well, why would the Padres trade in the division with the Giants and give Ha-Seong Kim to the Giants? What are we doing? I understand that, but I don't know. I feel like get the best package back. If the Giants is the best package, then it is. And you hope that Kim doesn't sign an extension with the Giants. You hope that he doesn't sign there long term. But if he does, even if he does, I can't sit here and treat it like it's the end of the world. Like, we got to believe in Jackson Merrill. We have Xander Bogaerts. We got to believe in him. We have Jay Cronenworth. We got to believe in him. Like, the Padres have made their bed. They've already made decisions to prohibit them from giving Ha-Seong Kim a long-term extension. So it's almost like we can't think about, oh, maybe he's going to be there long-term. Let's not trade him there. Get the best package back. With Soto, you didn't want that either. But if the Giants were to blow away the Padres with an offer, then you probably still do it. Just because you can make the wild card now. It's not like, oh, we're giving Ha-Seong Kim to the Giants. We're giving Soto to the Giants, let's say, and they're going to beat us in the division every year, and it's done. Like, you can make the playoffs without winning the division, and so Kim might not sign long-term with the Giants. Like, I think you got to get the best package back. I like a package that involves the Seattle Mariners. I mean, the Mariners are a team that they need to spend more money, in my opinion, as well. They also probably need to have better options at second base, at third base. I know they have J.P. Crawford at shortstop, but they've got Luis Arias, I think, starting at one of those spots. An upgrade is Ha-Seong Kim, and it's 1 year. And would he work in the Seattle market? Yeah, I think he'd work in the Seattle market. And what do the Seattle Mariners have? They have young starting pitching that the Padres can get. Maybe it has to be a 3-way trade with the team that I'm not thinking about right now. With a couple teams, I should say, that I'm not thinking about right now. But those are a couple teams that jump out at me, the Giants and the Seattle Mariners for Ha-Seong Kim. And yeah, I think that it makes the most sense to trade Ha-Seong Kim if we're trying to build the most complete roster. And I'd actually feel better about trading Kim over Soto because with Soto, and I'm taking out the money. I'm talking about positionally because the Padres have second base filled if Kim is traded. They can move a guy who was an all-star, two-time all-star at second base. They can put him at second base. They have Jackson Merrill, one of their top prospects coming up, that can play middle infield, right? Bogarts, if I know he doesn't want to, but he could play second base. I have no doubt he could play second base if that's what the Padres order him to do and say, this is what is best for the organization. With Soto, when you were trading him and Grish as well, there was no guy that you could just go put in left field that can move to left field where it's like, yeah, he fits better at left field. Like, no, we're looking for left fielders. We're looking for center fielders. Is there an outfielder out there that the Padres could trade Kim for that's controllable that was like, oh, that would make sense to play center field or to play left field? I do want to read more in this Dennis Lynn mailbag, and I'm going to get to the point of why, because maybe it's going to be brought up by a Padres fan. Maybe you're thinking right now in your head, like, what? Well, Ben, why would the Padres not just extend Kim, trade Jackson Merrill? Jackson Merrill's not proven at the big league level. Just extend Ha-Seong Kim and you can trade Merrill and you'll get something back there. He's a top 10 prospect in baseball. Why not do that? I will get to that. Dennis Lynn continued here talking about Ha-Seong Kim. Unsurprisingly, the Padres have set a high asking price in their conversations with other clubs. As one team official said just before the winter meetings, any potential return for Kim would need to be way above the line, which is very understandable. Like, the Padres don't have to trade Ha-Seong Kim. I just feel like you could get a lot of value back, some good value back for Ha-Seong Kim, and he's not going to be here long term. That sentiment is still there. A trade before Kim's scheduled March 20th homecoming to Seoul is possible, but not likely. Obviously, the Korea series is going to be there, the 2 games against the Dodgers, which are going to be at like 3 a.m. our time because it's at 7 o'clock p.m. Korea time. Despite the rough optics of this offseason amid a slow-moving market, the same description applies in various other cities. The Padres want to be competitive in 2024, and Kim could provide major value on an $8 million salary. It's also not lost on organization decision makers that 3 of their most productive players last season, Soto, Snell, and Hader, were close or relatively close to free agency. And does Dennis mean there that the Padres are like, maybe we shouldn't trade Kim because look at what guys on their walk year did for us this past year or close to their walk year. Look what Snell and Hader did. Look what Soto did close to the walk year. What is Kim going to do walk year? Motivated to get that big payday, in his last year in this contract. Maybe we should keep that person. Is that what he's referring to? Or is he referring to, hey, this could be appealing to other teams. Look what these other guys did in walk year. We didn't trade those guys, but we'll give you Kim walk year. He's only getting better. It's 1 year. It's not a big salary. Maybe a team has depth at the position the Padres want in a trade, and they can play it that way. Hey, look, walk year, Ha-Seong Kim, that's someone you want on your team. Here you go. We can give you this gift. Maybe that's part of the Padres if they feel like they need to trade Ha-Seong Kim, part of their pitch to other teams. Dennis says, we'll see if the Padres end up seeing greater value in a trade. Preller is as creative as any general manager, but keeping Kim, finding 2 starting outfielders and at least 1 starting pitcher and staying within a certain budget would be a challenge, no doubt. Exactly. That's where I'm like, yeah, it feels like the Padres do need to trade Kim if they want to get good return back, and those guys probably aren't making a bunch of money. Doing all this in free agency with a limited budget like this, I mean, we're not going to be able to get the impact. We're not going to get Jorge Soler and Marcus Stroman, coming to the Padres. I just don't see that with how this market is. And those guys could hold out because they know that they're talented. It's not like they're the low tier guys asking for too much and then they fold and it's like, okay, I'll go to the Padres for 1 year, $7 million. No, I think those guys could hold out and those guys will get bigger deals. Dennis says, for now, the Padres can't afford to maintain a high ask on Kim. Maybe spring training injuries arise for other teams, increasing the demand for a starting middle infielder. Maybe the Padres suffer their own injuries, or Merrill and other prospects don't look nearly ready in camp, which definitely could happen. Maybe Manny Machado's recovery from elbow surgery delays his return to playing third base, where Kim is a quality defender. That is something as well that might be brought up by fans that want to keep Ha-Seong Kim. What if Manny's not ready? Kim can play third. What are you going to do if Kim gets traded? Manny's not ready. Who's playing third base? Well, I guess deal with it when you get there. Eggy Rosario can play third if you need him to for a few weeks. You could have Graham Pauley play third base if you need him to, if he has a good spring training. It's kind of like if you get the right return for Kim, I don't know if you should be worrying about that. The Padres, by the way, Dennis Lynn says here, believe Machado could be fully ready to go by the second half of March, but they won't get a better idea until they go through a few weeks of the preseason. It seems like things are going well with Manny, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that progresses. Dennis does talk about a reasonable contract extension. What would that cost? Notes here, Dansby was a soon-to-be 29-year-old coming off his first Gold Glove award when he signed a 7-year, $177 million contract with the Cubs. Remember, Dansby did win the World Series. He more accomplished, Trevor Story more accomplished than Ha-Seong Kim, but Kim keeps getting better. And Kim did just win the Gold Glove for utility. Like he's still super valuable. And the market has only gone up. It's gotten more player-friendly as well, especially for guys that are in their prime. And that's what Ha-Seong Kim is. Trevor Story, by the way, he signed a 6-year, $140 million contract with the Boston Red Sox. That was with Bogart still on the Red Sox, so that was to play second base at the time. Both middle infielders, talking about Story and Swanson, were considerably more accomplished than Kim, and both possess higher ceilings on offense, but these two recent free agent deals likely are at least rough templates for Kim and his agents, which, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's what all agents would do, right? You see whether it's a starting pitcher, what did that starting pitcher get? Oh, comparable numbers, or I have better numbers. Okay, then you better not offer us less money than that. Kim, I'm sure that that's what his agent, I don't know who his agent is off the top of my head, but I'm sure that's what his agent will do with other teams. Hey, these guys got this. I keep getting, my client, Ha-Seong Kim, keeps getting better. He's winning Gold Gloves. Maybe the Padres make the postseason and Kim can come up big. We know that he came up big in Game 4 of the division series with that hit down the line, which was, I mean, part of it was where I think it was it Muncy who was at third base at that time, where the third baseman was positioned, but Kim did come through there. I was watching some of those highlights because I was making my intro today, my new intro, and man, I miss that feeling. Seeing Petco Park that freaking packed and just everyone being super, super happy. I miss that feeling. But yeah, getting back to what Lynn's saying here, Kim, Gold Glove candidate, shortstop or second base, compiled 8.1 F4 across the past 2 seasons, will turn 29 in October. He has largely stayed on the field, and unlike Story, there are no health concerns about Kim's throwing arm. Yeah, that's a good point. The only notable competition in the upcoming class of free agent shortstops is Willy Adames. Who would teams rather have? Would they rather have Willy Adames or would they rather have Ha-Seong Kim? Like Kim can play third, he can play short, he can play second. He's coming off of a Gold Glove utility. Adames, I mean, he could probably hit anywhere in the lineup as well. Let me look up Adames' numbers here. He could be a trade candidate as well if the Brewers, are out of it, because it doesn't seem like the Brewers are, going to go lock up Corbin Burns, lock up Willy Adames. I think they're going to let some of the young guys go play under Pat Murphy. Last year, Willy Adames hit .217 with 24 home runs. He had a 95 OPS plus, so below league average OPS plus. Where Ha-Seong Kim had a 110 OPS plus, but 10% above league average. He hit .260, which was significantly higher than Willy Adames. Adames had more home runs. Kim had 17. Adames had 24. Kim's WAR was significantly higher on, according to Baseball Reference. 5.8, which takes into defense, obviously. Willy Adames had a 3 WAR. So there you go. I mean, I think I'd rather have Ha-Seong Kim over Willy Adames. And I think a lot of teams would rather have Ha-Seong Kim over Willy Adames. I'm not saying Adames is not an impactful player. Like, he's not a good player. But, again, if I had to pick between the two, I think Ha-Seong Kim gives you more across the board than Willy Adames gives. Quick check of social media here. Okay. Now, I do want to get to the question of, well, why can't the Padres just trade Jackson Merrill? Like, I know a lot of Padres fans want Ha-Seong Kim. He's the proven guy, fan favorite, can play different positions, can hit anywhere in the lineup. Like, why not extend that guy? Jackson Merrill's a question mark. He's not proven yet. He's a top 10 prospect in baseball, according to some. Go trade him for starting pitching. Go trade him for Dylan Cease or Corbin Burns or Shane Bieber or another pitcher, Jesus Luzardo. Go trade him. Keep Kim. Give Kim a contract. Well, first off, are the Padres in the spot to give Ha-Seong Kim $180 million, $150 million, whatever it may be? I don't think so. Like, they've already made their bed with Cronenworth, with Bogarts, with Manny. That's how much that's tied up to their middle infield. $350 to Manny, $280 to Bogarts, $80 to Cronenworth. Some of the money has been already given out to these guys from last year, but with Cronenworth, for example, that money has not been given out. So, yeah, I mean, $350 plus $280 plus $80. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the exact number. And Google's not cooperating. So $350 plus $280 plus $80, that's $710 million for 3 infielders that is already locked up. You're going to give another $150 plus to Ha-Seong Kim and lock up 4 infielders, and you need 4 infield spots, and none of those guys are actual first basemen. So, sure, you could trade Jackson Merrill, but, the Padres, part of the attraction to Jackson Merrill is that he's not going to cost you anything when he comes up to the big leagues. And he's a great talent. He'll be able to play multiple positions. He's not going to cost you $150 plus million. He could play some outfield. He could be a very valuable utility guy if they want to bring in a first baseman, have Cronenworth play second, Bogarts play short. You can have Merrill play in the outfield. You can have him play infield spots when other guys get DH days. Like, he could be a very valuable guy to this Padres team. And other teams, while Jackson Merrill, yeah, that would be appealing, the Padres would probably ask for more back for Jackson Merrill than for Ha-Seong Kim. Because Ha-Seong Kim is 1 year. Jackson Merrill would be 6. All 6 of his rookie contract years, right? And other teams probably don't want to give up a ton. They'd rather just go with the 1 year of Kim. Maybe you give him an extension, but at least he's proven, obviously more than Jackson Merrill, he's proven at the big league level. And it's 1 year. It's cheap for that 1 year. And if you can't get an extension, okay, well, it's 1 year and you didn't have to give up as much. Because Jackson Merrill, that's a lot of control. And for the Padres' sake of things, like their side, why would they want to trade Jackson Merrill? When Ha-Seong Kim, like I said, they're not extending him. They're not going to give him a big contract. And Jackson Merrill is someone that has been developed for years in this farm system. We've seen him in spring training. He could be the future shortstop of this team with Bogarts moving over. Maybe a trade happens or guys move different positions. He could be an impact guy that is making nothing. You look at some successful teams in the past, guess what? You had guys like Juan Soto on that Nationals team in 2019 making nothing. You had Evan Carter with the Rangers making nothing. Like, there's there's guys that you have to have on these championship teams that are making like nothing, but they're huge pieces to your team. That's what allows you to spend on other parts of the roster, obviously. So, yeah, I think trading Ha-Seong Kim makes more sense for the Padres than trading Jackson Merrill. Now, can the Padres get back Dylan Cease, let's say, for Jackson Merrill? Probably not. Like the White Sox, they want Jackson Merrill, not 1 year of Ha-Seong Kim, right? But you could get, I don't know if the Padres need Dylan Cease for Ha-Seong Kim. Like for Ha-Seong Kim, you may be able to get back one of like a mid-rotation starter who has years of control from another team. And you could put that guy in as your number 4 guy in the rotation, and the Padres could feel better about that starting pitcher compared to Pedro Avila and Randy Vasquez holding the 4 or 5 spots. Or name a guy, James Paxton, who probably will get more money than the Padres can afford, but someone coming off of an injury, and you're giving that guy your 4 starter spot, and then you're having someone else be the 5, So it's something to think about. Obviously, a Ha-Seong Kim trade. And I really wonder what the Padres could get back for Ha-Seong Kim. And again, you can move Cronenworth to second base. You can have Jackson Merrill come up and play second base, or go to the outfield and be a very valuable, cheap piece to this Padres team, which I think you need. You can't be paying everyone and expect to go win the World Series all the time. Like you look in the past, the Astros, right? Kyle Tucker hasn't gotten that big contract when they won in 2022. Like there's a history of these guys coming up, these young guys. They're not making anything, but they're starting every day. They're hitting big home runs in the postseason. Like it's big. You look at the Phillies and their run to the World Series. I know that they didn't win the World Series, but you have the Bryson Stotts of the world that maybe they're not hitting at the top of the order, but they're a pretty key part there for those teams that can make it to the World Series. Look at the Arizona Diamondbacks this past year. They didn't have a $300 million payroll, but they had guys, they had the Corbin Carrolls of the world that aren't making a ton of money. The Brandon Pfaadt, not making a ton of money, step up and be big. So I'm curious to see what Padres fans think. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Are you on board to trade Ha-Seong Kim, Jackson Merrill? I don't think that's smart. I don't think trading Merrill is smarter than trading 1 year of Ha-Seong Kim when you know he's not going to be here long term, and you can move Cronenworth or have Merrill go play second base. You could have Matthew Batten, Eggy Rosario play second base if everything goes wrong. Now, I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just saying there are bodies there. With Soto, like there weren't bodies. Like Cal Mitchell, I'm not including him as starting left field option. Zokar, I don't even want to include that for center field. With Kim, at least there's someone that, it's a big contract with the Padres with Cronenworth. It's a top 10 prospect in baseball that could go play second. Maybe Bogart shifts over to second base. Like there are other options, ways to go about it. They can get guys back that can fill holes, and you're getting something back just because you know that Kim's not going to be here long term. So let's go to John here. I see him. He wants to join the show. What's up, man? What are your thoughts on a possible Kim trade? Dennis Lin in The Athletic today talking about how the Padres have been discussing internally, at least for weeks, about possibly trading Ha-Seong Kim. What are some of your thoughts, man?
Yeah, quite frankly, I think Padres are in a bind, whether we like it or not. The payroll is very limited and the market is really, really hot, and quite frankly, I think Preller has to judge how much he's willing to spend in terms of what position he wants to fill first and foremost. And I think that's starting pitching, quite frankly, because, the 6-man rotation has worked out for us, especially out in these last couple of years. Ha-Seong Kim provides a lot of value. And I think there's a lot of teams out there that could definitely be benefited from Ha-Seong Kim being traded. And to be honest, Preller has not had a history of sticking with the farm system. I think he's always kind of traded them away in terms of like the flashy guys or the, just a really big player that's out in the free agent market or something like that. He's willing to expend the farm system um, over his tenure. I mean, it's been proven time and time and again that it quite hasn't worked for him. So my question is to AJ Preller is that, have you learned anything? Are you going to stick with your farm system that you have rebuilt after the Soto trade, or are you willing to stick with the guys who have proven themselves on the field currently? Granted, there's still a lot of holes to fill, but and not a lot of flexibility as much anymore. And I was thinking about it in terms of also the Cronenworth trade because, that seems to be the discussion around Ha-Seong Kim as well as Cronenworth or Kim or whatever. I mean, Cronenworth is definitely a good option to trade away, but I mean, we've already made our bed with him, so we have to kind of stick with him in a sense. And I don't see a lot of teams kind of jumping on the bandwagon to get that big of a contract for such a
No.
low. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. It's the business side of everything. Is that we love Ha-Seong Kim, and I love Ha-Seong Kim, but it's the business side of it.
Yeah, and payroll wise, like you talk about Preller and his history of acquiring Juan Soto, trading away big prospects, acquiring Josh Hader, acquiring Musgrove,
Big
Darvish, Snell.
big splashes at the trade deadline.
Yeah. The payroll then was different. He had the ability to do that and add on the big salary. You had Peter Seidler as the owner, being okay with whatever salary is being added. Yeah, whatever, go for it. We'll blow through these thresholds. Who cares? Here, he doesn't have that. So if he could choose prospect route or go acquire Dylan Cease, probably would choose Dylan Cease or Corbin Burns, let's say, but he doesn't have that ability to do that. Clearly, like there is a budget here, and Peter Seidler's not here. It's Eric Kutsenda and Eric Grupner and the rest of the Seidler family that has any input. I'm not going to say names because I have no idea who actually is having like the input. But like it's different. And so he probably has to change his thought, his approach, because who would you rather have as a GM, especially when you might be playing for your job this year. Some fans would say, yeah, he should have been gone years ago. But let's say he's playing for his job this year. Would you rather, bank on Jackson Merrill coming up and performing right out of the gate, his first action in the big leagues? Or would you rather, bank on Ha-Seong Kim, who has proven it and he keeps getting better every year? Like, yeah, you do Ha-Seong Kim. Would you rather have Juan Soto on your team in your last year potentially or not? You'd rather have Juan Soto. But he's had to change his thought process, his approach, I think, because of some of the barriers, some of the restrictions that are on him.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if you look at the last, you look at the Texas Rangers as a great example, or the Astros even, and a lot of successful teams who have kind of gone deep into the playoffs or had long-term success or whatever, they always have this core group of guys that they've spent a lot of money on and that have proven themselves. But then on top of that, they have these homegrown talents that are able to, mash or provide clutch plays or, really, really kind of go for the team in the long term. And we, as Padre fans, really haven't had that. We obviously have had that on the pitching side, but never on the hitting side, I think. I mean, you can think of, certain prospects that have kind of come up and, done something, but never like someone who's like kind of like, stuck around. You can make the case for Campusano, but yeah, I mean, I think he still has more to prove this coming year, especially now. I mean, he definitely has to step up for sure. But also, I think that long-term success we want to see here in Padresville is we want to see our homegrown talent, on the hitting side, and we want to see outfielders and starting pitching and people who we've kind of grown up with as the years have gone by. I guess my ultimate question is like, what happens in 2025 too? Are we going to continue this sort of same payroll of $250 million or so, or is this like a retooling year where we're going to gradually go down, or what's I'm trying to get into the head of AJ Preller and Cosenza or whatever, and just trying to understand like what's the long-term strategy. I know there's been a big change in Peter Seidler's death, unfortunately, but what about the money aspect of it? We have these locked up guys. Are we going to continue to spend? Are we continue to be competitive? Are we taking a year off? Like, there's a lot of questions I have in terms of just the overall payroll that, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a good point. In 2025, obviously we're looking very far into the future. I feel like what they want, like their ideal thing is you make the playoffs in 2024, you get revenue from that. Hopefully there's something TV deal wise
TV
where you
deal,
can
yeah.
get money from that. And these players that are coming up in 24, we have confidence that, yep, they can perform at the big league level. That's less money that they have to spend on free agents to replace those players that don't perform at the big league level. There's not as much trades that need to happen of guys that are, on 1-year deals left because you have those prospects playing that are up now and they're rookies or they're going to be going into their second years in 25. And that allows for a big spend on someone in the rotation or that one spot. Instead of having 2 in the rotation, first base DH, 2 outfielders, like having 5, 6 spots that they need to fill, maybe in free agency they only have 1 or 2, and then they can spend the money on that, and we can actually be in the camp of some of the bigger names instead of having to be like, well, we don't know what trades they're going to make, so we have to pretty much just talk about, oh, can they spend X amount of dollars, limited money on 6 positions in free agency when I think trades are going to happen, but we don't know what name. It's hard to talk about trades because there's so many guys in farm systems. So I'm I don't know what I'm hoping. I mean, yeah, you want the Padres to make the postseason in 24.
Of course, every year.
I don't want the Padres to make the postseason, get this money, the prospects. Of course, I want the prospects to work out, but I don't want that to be them being like, all right, we don't have to spend money then going into 2025. These guys are working out. We can keep lowering the payroll because these guys are working out. Fans keep coming to the ballpark, and everything's fine. I want them to work out and the Padres to use that money, obviously, and be like, we don't have to spend money on 6 positions. We can spend it on 2. And now let's really go improve this team with 2 really good players in free agency. I think that's what they hope ends up happening. That's what I'm hoping, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that we have to understand is that, Preller has really kind of refilled this farm system with a bunch of prospects, and these are what they are, prospects, let's just be honest here, is that not a lot of them, not every one of them is going to work out, not everyone is going to be able to make that transition into the MLB. And I know we have a lot of hope for Ethan Salas and we have a lot of hope for Jackson Merrill and stuff like that. But again, we have to give these guys time, and sometimes they won't work out. Ryan Weathers, I think, is a great example. He was the number 1 pitching prospect. We had a lot of high hopes for him. He was going to be, 3rd rotation guy. Unfortunately, didn't work out, and they're prospects. And so I think it's about, and in that sense, it's all about just, statistics, right? We have overall, we have a lot of great players, right? But being truthful is that not every one of them is going to work out. And so, we have to temper our expectations in some sort of way, but at the same time, we have to understand that we are building something here, and we want to build this long-term success and these, I don't want to say dynasty, but we have a core. We need the peripheral edges is what we kind of need as a team, I think. And how much we're willing to spend is really up to us, or really up to AJ Preller and all the ownership group. But I don't know. It's too many questions that we don't have any answers for, and we are just left in the dark. And I imagine there's a lot of teams like that too. But when the Padres going to do a move? That's a real question.
Yep, it's the waiting game, and then when they make a move, we're going to be like, all right, when are they going to make the next move? Because they'll make a move, and then it'll be like 3-4 days, and we're going to be waiting. And dang, they haven't made a move in a long time. Well, they did just make a move a few days ago, but right now, yeah, for sure, it feels like it's been forever. Their last move was what, Woo-Suk Go, and when was that? Beginning of January.
Yeah, and
I think I had
who knows, but I mean, I think a lot of GMs, like I think we talked about it earlier in the show, or earlier, whenever last time I was on here, whatever, is that it's a Mexican standoff right now between the GMs, the owners, and all the players, and the spring training is a deadline. for the players, but also a deadline for GMs too, in order to fill their roster spots and with capable players to have an opening day starter, or starting players, So it's the market is interesting right now, and the Padres are in a very, very difficult bind that unfortunately Ha-Seong Kim is going to alleviate some sort of the binds that we all face,
Yeah.
where we have a loaded infield, a lot of players tied up money wise, and got a lot of people hungry for an opportunity to play at the big league level. So, it pains me. I love Ha-Seong Kim.
Yeah.
Pains me.
I mean, we all do. Yeah, we all do. But we got to look at it from, I mean, you can look at it from whatever perspective you want to look at it from. You can look at it from the fan perspective, but I feel like it's best to at least try to put yourselves in AJ Preller's shoes, knowing the budget and knowing how many holes there still are, and knowing the contract of Ha-Seong Kim and how unlikely it is for him to be here long term. And anyone that brings up like the Korea series, those things are going to be sold out, regardless of if Kim is there or not. It's sold out.
Yeah.
Ohtani's coming to Korea. The Dodgers, Padres, like there's stars that will sell the place out. It's not like they
Yeah.
go to Korea every year. It will be sold out. You can't make a decision or not make a decision just because, oh, there's 2 games in Korea. Like we gotta look at it from a unbiased, not a fan perspective, from Preller's perspective. He does not care about the 2 games in Korea. Oh, I'm not going to trade Kim if I get the right package because 2 games in Korea. That's just that's what fans will bring up, and I understand it. And you'd like to think that that's, oh yeah, don't trade him because that's a great moment that we can have on the Petco Park Jumbotron before games for the rest of the franchise's history because it's a great moment. Well, okay, great. Winning is cool too. So we just have to make the right decision. And I say we, the Padres front office, they can't think emotionally about this decision.
Don't lie.
That's what they get paid to do, is unemotionally make decisions.
Don't lie, Ben. We're all in this train together. Us, AJ Preller. We're all on this roller coaster ride together. So we'll see. But I mean, that being said, Ha-Seong Kim jerseys aren't flying off the shelves. And it's just one of those things. It's the reality of baseball. But we'll see what happens. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about the Korea series tickets. I'm scouring the internet for them.
I looked at that today and I didn't see anything. So I guess, are they not on sale, or they're not, or they're already sold out?
I've been hearing that.
Literally have not seen anything.
Nothing. I heard that season ticket holders are just going to get an email one day, and we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I hope to go. I want to go. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was like an obvious thing to make those tickets available in December, maybe for Christmas presents for fans, or I thought that was like obvious. The Padres, by the way, they're releasing limited 20-game packages for the upper deck. I thought there was a wait list, so I don't know. Maybe if you fill out the form, it's just the wait list that you're going on to, and they're going to pull from that. But I guess there's unprecedented demand, according to the Padres, for tickets.
Well, they better get in the postseason, because this unprecedented demand that they're talking about isn't going to be lasting forever. I mean, we all remember those days where Petco Park was pretty empty. So what's the plan? Yeah. That's my question. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Have a good.
As always. All right. I do want to get to the chat after this break. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, Devin here in the chat says, it makes sense, but just like the Soto trade, it hurts from a fan perspective. Yes, that is true. I love Ha-Seong Kim, but it's evidently clear he doesn't fit in the Padres' future plans, so I would trade him in order to get something. That's kind of the view I have. Like, I'm trying to look at this from an unemotional viewpoint. I love watching Ha-Seong Kim. I love that he hustles. He doesn't give up. I mean, yeah, he's a fan favorite for a reason. Like, that's great. He's a great player. But there's other factors in this. Caesar says Kim is our best third baseman until Manny is healthy enough. You also, if you get the right package, I don't think that you keep Ha-Seong Kim just because you need Kim to play third base for a couple weeks into the season. You make it work. If you can get a good package for it, then you pull the trigger. Irie says, according to Kyle Glazer, I think he's Baseball America, Jackson Merrill is not ready yet. Same thing, Jim Callis told me that about Jacob Marcy in center field. So, yeah, I mean, it's 2024 is like a bridge year to those prospects is what it feels like. Mark says, from a business side, 100% of course you trade him. Get what you can have or get what you can from him to fill the gaps we have. I thought you were going to say from a business side, no, because he's a fan favorite and Korea series and all that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, from the Padres front office side, like AJ Preller's view, then yeah. But also, I guess he has to weigh if he thinks his job's on the line. Ha-Seong Kim was one of the better players. He's not making a bunch of money. Jackson Merrill's not a guarantee to help out immediately in 2024. What if Cronenworth continues to struggle? What if there's injuries? Having Ha-Seong Kim can really help you. And if you don't have Ha-Seong Kim, what if whoever you acquire doesn't really, turn out well? And then there's some more holes on the roster during the year, and then you don't make the postseason, I should say, and then you end up losing your job. So there's things that AJ has to weigh for sure. Guffield to Fish says, part of me thinks we trade him after the Korea series. Why would the Padres trade Ha-Seong Kim 2 games into the season? I mean, it could happen, right? Like the Padres traded for Craig Kimbrell, right? I think that was like right before the season. They traded for Rogers, right? They traded Paddock to the Twins. That was on opening day, the morning of their morning of opening day in Arizona a couple years back, right? So it can happen, but why would you do that? So, I mean, so you trade Ha-Seong Kim. I get the thinking, like he can help you for those 2 games, and he's marketable. He's the big guy, Padres-wise, for the Korea series, the Korean king. I understand it. And then there's time between then and the home opener to hammer out a trade. And the team that acquires Kim would be acquiring him before opening day. That team's opening day before, and they'd get him for 162 games if he stays healthy, obviously. So I understand that. But I don't know. I feel like the Padres would want to get their roster fully set. And Ha-Seong Kim's a big part of this Padres team if he's on the team, right? So I think that they'd want to make that decision before the Korea series. Make that decision. And then if you don't trade him, the next time you think about trading him is before the deadline. Like you see what this team can be with Kim if you don't trade him. But some of the points or some of the factors in that point there, yeah, that does make sense to wait after the Korea series, but I don't know. That just doesn't feel right to me. Michael Taylor fits. It would be right hand heavy, and we would have to add 2 lefties after that. We could do right, left, right, left, right, left type lineup. Yeah, but who is that lefty that's hitting third? It's not Jake Cronenworth, is it? And what lefty are you going to hit third that's playing left field, I would think? Or is that the first baseman? Like, who would be that lefty that actually fits to play to hit third, Michael A. Taylor, just look at the money. If Bader and Kiermaier got $10+ million, what is Michael A. Taylor going to get? Probably around that same money. And the Padres didn't want to do that for Kiermaier, who I would have rather had than someone like Michael Taylor because he's a lefty. We know what we can get defensively out of him. I'll take that over Michael A. Taylor. Now, would I rather have Bader or Taylor? I don't know. That's close. Probably Taylor right now. But that's probably bias coming off of what happened this past year. But still, Bader got, over $10 million from the Mets. So I don't see the Padres giving. They might give one guy $10+ million a year in free agency or 10+ mil for that 1 year. But it's not going to be multiple. They just don't have the room for that, I don't think. All right, continuing to go through the chat here. Alfredo says you better move Crony to the outfield. I mean, they might do that, but that feels like that's a big move of desperation if Crony's moved to the outfield. Like I'm talking not like part-time, but full-time, where he's, your everyday left fielder. He's your everyday center fielder. Like that's like, well, we couldn't find a trade for Kim, or we didn't want to trade him. We're not putting Crony at first base. We have to put him somewhere because we gave him the contract, so we'll put him in a position he's never played before. Like that's big. That's a big desperate move to put him in the outfield. But I guess it's a possibility. Fred says Kim for Luis Ariz. Marlins need a good shortstop, but they're going to give up one of their best hitters for 1 year of Ha-Seong Kim. Do the Marlins think that they can go win the World Series this year? They could give him a contract extension, give him what he wants. But what does Luis Ariz's contract look like? Luis Ariz contract. Let's see. 2 years. And by the way, the Padres, the base salary is over $12 million. So the Padres would actually be gaining money on their payroll for Luis Ariz, who doesn't have power. Sure, it's a lefty bat and, hits for average, right? You'll draw comparisons in today's day to Tony Gwynn because of how, like, he doesn't, I mean, the guy's like a hit machine. But you're adding money for a guy that doesn't have power. Is he the best first baseman? Like, I don't even know the answer to that, to be honest. Does he profile more as like a DH or a second baseman? I mean, yeah, I'd probably do someone else. Like, what I was thinking with the Ha-Seong Kim trade is you get positions of need, which, yeah, first base, let's say Luis Ariz, first base, lefty, okay. But I think you want more power from that position, right? You want, like, Cronenworth is a left-handed hitter. Sure, he's not going to hit for average as much as Luis Ariz, like no one does. But he's a lefty that doesn't have much power, and Ariz is a lefty that doesn't have much power. Cronenworth, I thought he was okay defensively at first base. I don't think Luis Ariz is the best defensive first baseman out there. And if you're trading Kim, I thought that you're trading Kim for controllable person, someone that isn't making as much money as Kim, so you're saving more money and you can plug that in somewhere else, or comparable money, but it's like into the rotation, or it's an outfielder. I don't know. I don't feel that great for 2 years of Luis Ariz, and Ariz is making estimated base salary of $12+ million. Devin says, should the Red Sox be a trade partner? I hear they're shopping Yoshida, but the Padres, that's not a good contract for the Padres. He's making $18 million a year. I think I saw Sam Levitt tweet something about that the other day, and I looked up his contract, and I'm like, yeah, he's okay. He's a good fit, like left-handed hitter, outfielder. Although I think there's talk about Yoshida being more of a DH than an outfielder with the Red Sox. But okay, he's a let's say he's not a DH even. Outfield, lefty, but he's making $18 million a year. The Padres don't have that right now to give, because you're giving Yoshida that contract because you're taking that on. And even if the Red Sox send money to the Padres, the 18 mil a year still counts towards the luxury tax. And that's like almost their entire budget to get up to the 237 number. At least if I'm reading things correctly, you take on the Yoshida contract, even if the Red Sox give you money, you still have to take on the entire AAV, I think, of the deal. You may not have to literally pay Yoshida all that money because the Red Sox are giving you money, but for the AAV, you're the one with Yoshida, so you have to own all of the AAV. It's not like the Red Sox put some of Yoshida's AAV on their payroll for the luxury tax. I think that's how it works. Andy says Kim will get extended. Let's just stop the blasphemy already. I don't know what you're reading. I've seen no one say that Kim's like they think that Kim's getting extended or anything like that. I would be shocked if Kim got extended. Like I'm at that. If Cronenworth gets traded, okay, that's a little bit something different. If Merrill and Cronenworth are dealt, okay, that it definitely opens the door. But right now, I would be shocked if Kim got traded. Yoshida doesn't have the best power either, does he? Let's look up Yoshida. I think last year he wasn't that good, was he? So 109 OPS plus, but it's nothing special. Like his WAR's 1.4. Like that's nothing special. 289 average, okay, that's good. But 15 home runs. I mean, Kim hit 17, had an above average OPS plus, can play multiple positions. He's not making as much money. I know you need the outfield, so maybe you take that on, but just the contract, I think, is what doesn't make Yoshida appealing to the Padres, their situation. All right, continuing through the chat, Devin says Hoskins is not an option. No way Padres will spend half their money on him. Yeah, I don't see that either. I think there's teams like the Cubs that will definitely be more open to spending on Rhys Hoskins than the Padres. With two outfielders, why would we swap Kim for another infielder? I think you're talking about the Arise hypothetical. Yeah, but if Arise plays first, you can move Crony to second, back to second. You have a lefty that you bring in, someone that can hit at the top of the order, really good hit for average guy. I could see how that makes sense, but you're taking on money for Luis Arise there. And it's for 2 years. Money's going to increase his last year of arbitration as well next year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Arise. Yeah, sure, Arise would be great to have in the lineup, but at least my thought is, okay, 1 year of Kim, you're trading him to get something back for him that is controllable and is less than what his contract is, so you can have more flexibility to spend elsewhere, I think. Now, what you could say with the Rise is, well, you're trading Kim, yeah, and you're choosing to spend some of the money, the Kim money, on a position elsewhere, first base. I don't know. I don't see a Rise happening. And the Marlins probably want a shot to try to extend a Rise. And if they're trying to win, I mean, they did make the postseason this past year. If they're trying to contend again, I'm not so sure they'd want to give up a Rise for that. They have a lot of pitching. So I think what the Padres would be getting back is like pitching, not Luis Arise. Why not just sign Bauer? I brought this comment up because I did do a video on this, or a clip from my last show. You can go watch that here on this YouTube channel. I've already said no to Bauer. I've already given my thoughts on that. But it was brought up, any possibility the Padres look at signing Trevor Bauer by Robert in Dennis Lynn's Athletic mailbag. And Lynn said, nothing is 100% with this team, but I have been told this is not going to happen. And I agree with that Padres viewpoint. It shouldn't happen. They need lefties in the rotation. Bauer's a righty. It's a big headache, a lot of questions, a lot of distractions. That's the last thing this Padres team needs, is distractions. Let's see. Any more comments here? While I'm scrolling through, just want to remind you about the great partners of the show. We got Foco. They've got some great Padres bobbleheads and collectibles. Click that link in the description there. Breaking Tea. Great Padres, Aztecs, San Diego Wave shirts and sweatshirts. Aztecs, they got a nail-biting win yesterday. I gave my thoughts on that last night, because it was the late game last night. Gave my thoughts on that, so you can go watch that on YouTube. Go to the playlist, San Diego State Aztecs, and you'll find it there. Got that win over San Jose State, and then they play on the road against New Mexico over the weekend. SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your order there. You can save it for the Padres season tickets there, or other events that you want to go to. And then Underdog Fantasy. It's not baseball season, but there's a lot that you can place some picks. You can make some picks on there. Underdog Fantasy 100% deposit match up to $100. Code Talking Friars, or click the link in the description for that. Let's see. Caesar says sign Eddie Rosario and Donovan Solano. I did not see Solano as a free agent. Interesting. If he is, he plays. Does he play first at all? Donovan Solano. What kind of year did he have this past year? Donnie Barrels. I know he was really good in 21. He was a big reason why the Giants made the postseason. 5 home runs this past year. 110 OPS plus, 760 OPS. So it's not like blowing you away. Yeah, he is a free agent. What positions did he play this past year? Let's see. Yeah, he played first base 82 games. So I guess that's an option, but isn't he a righty? Yeah, he's a right-handed hitter. I think the Padres would want a lefty, not a righty. But yeah, Eddie Rosario, that's a name that keeps getting thrown out there. And yeah, I agree. I think that's a name that I don't see him being signed immediately. So I could see his market going down a little bit. Maybe it's at like 10 right now, but maybe it goes down closer to where the Padres are more comfortable giving out contracts at, these 1-year deals. So yeah, I could see that. I still see Aaron Hicks as being a Padre. I mean, Joey Gallo, one of these years, you would think he's going to be a Padre at some point. Those are some names out there that it's like, I could see that. Derek says one person needs to be traded here. Kim, Crone, or Merrill. There is a logjam in our middle infield. Kim should be playing short. He's the second best defender on the team. Yes, like who should be starting on this team? Bogarts, Kim, Cronenworth for the middle infield. You only have 2 spots. Well, you're going to give it to Bogarts and Kim, right? But there's the contract. He's here for 1 more year. He's not going to be here long term. Who is here long term? Merrill, Cronenworth, Bogarts. And let's just throw out Merrill for now, but Cronenworth, Bogarts. They've made their bed with those. Those guys aren't getting traded, in my opinion. So it's not just a question of who are the best players and then you have them play the infield. It's who are the best players, combine that with what are their contract situations, what could you get back for those players? And Kim, you could get a significant package, I think, back. Not Soto or anything like that, because it's 1 year and he's not as good of a hitter as Juan Soto, but you could get a good package back. There are teams, I mean, Dennis Lin wrote about it today. There are teams, widespread interest in Ha-Seong Kim. There are teams that would be willing to give up major league pieces, I think, for Ha-Seong Kim. With Cronenworth, who's going to take that contract? Who's going to take Xander's contract? He's got 10 years left on that deal. No one's taking that. Who's taken 7 years of Cronenworth coming off of an injury and a really down year? I mean, he keeps declining offensively. I hate to say it, but you look at his numbers, they have declined. So, like, Kim is the most appealing guy out of those 3 guys, Bogarts, Kim, and Cronenworth. Derek says we should package Crone and Merrill for a frontline starter, keep Kim. So if we package Crone and Merrill, then maybe it opens up a Kim extension because you get the Crone, if you get all of the Cronenworth money off the books. But Kim would make double what you got for what you gave Cronenworth, though. So you got to think about that. That's less money that you can give to free agents in 2025. And that's Merrill. You're giving up on 6 years of Jackson Merrill, and he'd be making nothing in the first years of that deal. A top 10 prospect in baseball, someone that you didn't want to trade for Juan Soto from the Nationals. You had to trade other guys, but you did not want to trade Jackson Merrill. And you're going to give up on him just so that you can attach the Cronenworth contract? I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. Yes, David Peralta is another option. He is a lefty bat. Yep. All right. A lot of ground covered here. Talking Friars episode 553. Padres, they are talking a Ha-Seong Kim trade. We know that. Dennis Lin wrote that in The Athletic. He'll probably have another mailbag I would think next week or maybe later this week. Thank you, everybody, for the time. I appreciate it. I don't want to take your time for granted. So that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in live, replay on YouTube, listening on the podcast platforms. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see if some Padres signings come down. See you later.